Officially, salam alaikum everybody. Hello, welcome to Dubai Outlet Mall, and hello, welcome to the Voice of Nomad music panel. We're debating a sound associated to a place. I have with me here incredible people, like I said, on stage and also off stage. Looking forward to your questions. But before we start, I thought it would be really cool to speak about what Nomad is, what sort of future plans they have, what is it that they do. I've been familiar with them for the past 3-4 months or so, and I think they're doing incredible. But a better person than me to speak about that is their community ambassador, the one and only Mohammed Bailouni. Give him a big round of applause. He's right here. So Bailouni, tell us a little bit about Nomad as the community ambassador. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, sure. So Nomad is an entrepreneurial ecosystem developed for individuals and startups in the creative economy. It's a membership-focused platform, so anybody here can register and join and be a member today. Nomad basically delves into the creative sectors such as music, film, arts and crafts, design, gaming, culinary, etc. And it's essentially it's going to be a full-time facility that will be opened in the near future that will have workspaces, production suites, career building programs, and essentially just provide a opportunity for creatives to develop their brand or their business or career within or from the UAE. I was announced as community ambassador in June, and you know, as somebody that's been part of the music scene for almost 15 years now in different ways or shapes or forms, I'm genuinely very proud of what Nomad has been able to do up until this point, and extremely excited about the targets they have set moving forward, and some of the initiatives they'll be announcing soon. One of them today being the panel, and thank you all for coming today. And another will be a music boot camp that we're having tomorrow in each one of those creative sectors: music, film, gaming, etc. I'll be spearheading the music boot camp, which will be starting tomorrow. It'll be a 2-week program with 14 members, which are artists, songwriters, producers, engineers. And essentially just go have workshops, collaborative writing sessions, and just a Q&A with industry leaders in the UAE, UK, US, so that those individuals can essentially you know, enhance their knowledge of the industry and, you know, excel at that. But in general, the thing I'd like to stress the most about Nomad and what we do is that it's a community-driven initiative. So it really is a situation where Nomad looks at key members in the community and what they're doing, and tries to see how they can use that to enhance what's going on in our scene. And it's really about setting something up, not just for the community today, but something for like 30, 40, 50, 60 years down the line. So I would suggest if you're a singer, songwriter, photographer, videographer, chef, a game developer, whatever it is, in any way, shape, or form, if you're a creative, join, register, and be a member of something that, you know, could genuinely be a movement that, you know, could make a major difference moving forward.
Big round of applause, gentlemen. Thank you so much for that. Community ambassador, Liam Bailouni, my brother. Okay, perfect. I just want to shout out a couple of people. I want to hear a big round of applause for Sony, of course. They're helping out with the tech and also their ongoing partners for Nomad. Give them a big round of applause, please. We got some students from SAE. If you're a student from SAE, raise your hand. Make some noise for SAE in the building. Thank you so much. Venue partners and also ongoing. And keep it going as well for Area 2071. Also ongoing support for Nomad. Give them a big round of applause, please. 112, okay. Let me introduce to you guys quickly our panelists, and I'll do the introduction. Oh, 1, 2, we're good, okay. I'll do the introduction, and then after each and every name, really appreciate, obviously, your clap. We'll start on the right. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Abri. Make some noise for Abri. singer, songwriter, one of the founders and front man of Dubai-based soul band Abri. Dan has been monumental and an amazing contributor to the UAE music community. Big round of applause for him again one more time. Sure, sound is good. Okay, 1, 1, 2.
Petra?
Okay, maybe that one is better. Okay, cool. Up next, we got Australian-Lebanese singer who has actually been performing since the age of 12. He rose to fame as a finalist on the 5th season of X Factor Australia. He goes by the name of Omar Deen. Make some noise for my brother Omar Deen. And then we got a photographer, videographer, overall an incredible personality. Waleed has been obviously going viral with his projects, the latest one, Rock Your Ugly campaign. But the reason why he's here today is because he founded White Cube in, of course, 2013. And that platform was very important back in the day for the UAE music scene over here. So give him a big round of applause, Waleed Shah. Okay. And over here, man oh man, flew all the way from Bahrain just today. R&B hip hop producer, composer, a radio host. Sarah is actually making that sound in her country, and she's developing that sound. At 17, Sarah actually discovered the art of music production, and she works, of course, with Outlaw Productions on various genres and incredible, artists. Give her a big round of applause. Sarah Nabil. We got the GM of Sony Music Middle East. He is also incredible. Before joining actually Sony, Mike was spent 6 years, I believe, as a CMO at Flash Entertainment. He is incredible because he has an amazing mind, and I love to pick his brain sometimes. And overall, an incredible personality. Give him a big round of applause, Mike Furburn. And last but not least, you just heard from him. He's an executive producer, singer, songwriter. He played a significant role in the rebirth, I believe, of the current music scene by working with different artists on different genres. Give it up for Baylouni. He's right here. And I'm going to be your bold host for the day. My name is Hassan. I go by Big Hass. I'm a human being that believes in good, authentic art and vibe. I host Saudi's first and only FM hip-hop radio show. I'm a big believer of support, and again, I think I'm the least qualified out of these incredible people here. So أنا خدامكم اليوم. I'm your servant, and let's just go. Thank you. So if you just walked in, we're actually, just to give you a little bit of perspective, we're talking about sound and has it historically been associated to a place. We're going to talk about the credibility of sound in Dubai. Will Dubai ever have a sound? Is sound actually important to have? Is it an artist's responsibility to create that sound? So I think it's a really overall good discussion. So I'll start just with a brief question from all of you guys. I'll start on the right. Very briefly, it's a yes or no and maybe one sentence, just to get your point of view in this. Abri, do you think that sound is associated to a place? A yes or no? And if you want to elaborate in a sentence, go ahead.
Yes and no. I think with any country or any region, there is a specific sound. Let's say for the UAE, we were just talking briefly, where Khaliji music is the sound of the UAE. But there are other artists out there, such as myself, that doesn't necessarily do Khaliji music, that does Western type of music. And for me, I do believe that that's also part of what the sound of Dubai is, because it's it's so multicultural, and there's so many people from different parts of the world here. Okay. That's it.
So it's a yes or no. Omar Deen, what do you think? It's a...
Yeah, I do think it stems and the source is always from an origin, a place or time or an event. But I do feel like with technology, with social media, we're having so much more access, and I think that's changing and we're breaking the borders.
Waleed?
I think generally yes, but in the context of like what kind of music people are producing here in this room, in this space, I don't think it will have a sound in Dubai.
Interesting. Sarah, do you think that sound is associated to a place?
Yes, I do. historically, yes, for sure. I think with globalization that kind of changed, but I do think a lot of elements are still being carried out in new music and commercial music that stem from a certain origin. So again, yes and no, like Abri said.
Okay. Mike,
Yes and no.
same answer, okay.
Yeah, it's,
Can we put that mic up if possible?
yeah, I think it's cool. Hi everyone. Yeah, it's a yes and no, and for all the reasons said. But I think, does a city attach itself to a sound, or does a sound emanate from a city? It's an interesting conversation, which we'll get into.
Beiluni?
I think it is. I think you can associate a sound with a place. Like Sarah was saying, if you look through history, it's normally happened following some sort of struggle or some sort of unifying factor within a community or a culture. Whether that's happened yet or not is up for debate, but I do genuinely feel that once you have that experience, normally a sound is used as a tool to unify some sort of movement or culture, yeah.
Okay. All right. طيب. Again, prepare your questions, you guys. Tag us at definitely Nomad. Omar, actually, I want to start with you. You said on your Insta story, yes, I'm putting you on the spot like here, that you believe that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Dubai will never have a sound because of the internet, and like you just said, and the identity somehow gets lost in all of that. Am I right?
It was the opposite.
Huh?
It was the opposite.
What yeah.
Okay, so sorry, reiterate.
So anyway, you said that Dubai will never have a sound, right? Can you elaborate a little bit more of that, and why do you think that Dubai as a city will never have a sound?
I see what you're doing, bro. I see it.
Go.
I don't think that Dubai will never have sound. I think that in general, worldwide, it's changing. I know from being in the Australian industry as well, we never really developed a solid sound. It was just more about individuality, and I think that's what's happening now with the internet. And in multiculturalism in general, Dubai and Australia are very multicultural places, and you find people that have taken inspiration and stories from all around the world, and they're putting that into their art, which essentially develops a whole brand new innovative sound. Yes, the main genres will always result from a place, they will source back to a place, but I feel like we're creating subgenres, and it's going into different factors of preference and identity. Really, what it comes down to, social identity, I guess, and what you tie yourself with as an individual.
Great. Let me just clarify something here, and Abri, that you touched on this. We're talking about the alternative/indie scene. Obviously, Dubai and many of the Khaliji cities have already that sound, which is the pop Khaliji sound. That's already established. That's already there. Beiluni, taking what Omar Dean said, you said it's an artist's responsibility to create somehow that sound, and I think you said somehow it's unacceptable when artists say that they are not able to create that sound. Am I right here, or like?
I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing.
I'm trying to do that.
No, I genuinely feel that if you look at, like I said, the past, whether that it be trap nowadays, or if you look at garage and grime in the UK, or even going back to like New Orleans with jazz, or even swing in the 50s, it followed a world war where a lot of people then came back into Renaissance about connecting with one another at a human level again. So I do feel that it's the artist's responsibility at some level to narrate what's going on in their environment. That could be in a relationship level, that could be in a societal level, it can be at whatever perspective you have of that. But I normally feel that artists that narrate what's going on around them, obviously you'll have much realer music, but it normally starts to build a trend where people also feel the need to narrate a different angle of the same culture. And then when more artists do that, you start to build a sound, which is like what happened with trap and garage and grime, etc. Yeah.
Got you there. Sarah, actually you were able to create that sound with Outlook Productions in Bahrain. You were able to be part of this Arabic hip-hop new movement. You were able to create a sound. So how did it all start with you, and how do you think it worked with you guys?
Well, okay, so you know the story about Sambusa, right? When Sambusa came out. So just to give everyone a background, I don't know if you know the track Sambusa by Daffy, but when that track came out, right before that, we were doing completely different music. So Flip, for example, Flipperachi was doing very hardcore hip hop, and he refused to use Arabic in his music at the time, because it's like, oh, it's hip hop now. Because at the time, Arabic hip hop was kind of cringy. No, nobody was accepting it. The people weren't accepting it. The content was just not relatable for the people here. So then Daffy, it was actually Daffy's idea, and he called Outlaw, and he called us, and he's like, you know what? Throw out all that boom bap, all that Dr. Dre in your car. Listen to Tyga, listen to these new guys. We need to create a new sound that's, there's a sound that's trending right now on the charts and everything. We need to take that, because people here are liking that. We need to take that and kind of create like a new sound around it, like a Khaliji vibe. So that's where it started with Sambusa. And then Ila came. Now, Ila was kind of a different story, because in Ila we actually incorporated Bahraini music. So when you talk about sound that reminds you of a place or is associated with a place, for Bahrain it's Fajri, or it's called Fajri. So it's Bahrain, Kuwait, for example. But Bahrain is usually, the hub for Fajri. So that was incorporated in Ila. So a lot of Bahrainis loved that. It was like, wow, it's something new. He's rapping in English and Arabic and flip. Not anybody can do that, by the way. It takes a very talented rapper to be able to do that. To switch Arabic to English and keep the rhyme and have a certain flow, it's not anybody can do that. So that combined with the production and the stuff that he was saying, it was very comedic, it was funny. That clicked with people. And for once, they were hearing something commercial that they can relate to, as opposed to, a lot of hip-hop music coming out of the region at the time, where a lot of people were like, this is too hardcore for us. People want to have fun as well, And you always talk about hip-hop in Saudi, and I think that's a huge example of something that's not necessarily working out commercially. So, yeah.
No, 100%. Thanks for that. Mike, from a record, obviously, label point of view, and given your experience in, obviously, in music, do you think that Dubai will ever have a sound? Like, do you think that's something to look forward to?
Yeah, I mean, it's early days, isn't it, in the history of the country and everything. I mean, that's something we've got to factor in. I think what the guys are saying is spot on. It's like, if you look at New York and London and Paris and New Orleans and Austin and Manchester and Detroit, Berlin, so all these cities created incredible movements, right? So if you look at the punk scene, if you look at techno in Detroit and Berlin, if you look at Motown Records out of Detroit, you look at the Manchester Northern Soul scene. So, like, how do these things come about? So you ask yourself, what are the ingredients that kind of come into it, right? First of all, there's social challenges, potentially. So hip-hop coming out of Brooklyn, late 70s, big problems in that city, and it creates a movement. So it's almost like artists can be inspired by a lot of things. Like, artists are inspired by a whole myriad of things. I think the physical surrounding plays a part in that. Does Dubai inspire artists to write and create together? Is a question.
What do you think?
Well, these guys know better than me, right? Okay. I mean, I think it's a transient city. People come in and out. There's 200 nationalities. So with that is positives, I think, because you've got a lot of influences on music and a lot of different vibes coming in. You've got African, you've got Arabic, you've got Filipino, you've got Korean, you've got all these different melting pots. Like, as a label team, it's pretty exciting. And I think with what Nomad are doing, that's pretty exciting. At the same time, does that reflect Dubai? Is that the city, right? That's a cool kind of thought. Maybe it is, right? In which case, how do you define that sound? That's a pretty challenging idea, right? Is to say, well, we're going to take all of these kind of nationalities and sounds, and that's going to be the thing. In answer to your question, I've not answered your question, but I'm just trying to
but I love it.
provoke some conversation.
You actually put it in a very, very nice way. Thank you for that. Abri, given that your name is at legendary status here, and I'm sure a lot of people agree, I really want to hear from you on this topic. When you create music, and I want you to be as brutally, as honestly as possible, do you really think that I want to create music so that I can give Dubai a sound? Does that really cross your mind at all?
No, it hasn't. When I first started doing music, I wanted to do music that I was into, which was at that time soul music, hip hop, obviously, jazz. And so when I got together with the band and we wanted to make music, those are the elements those are the kind of genres that we were into. Obviously, I grew up listening to Khaliji music. I mean, it was all around us when we were growing up. But I believe that if we did this music and we did it right, and people would gravitate to it, we didn't have to worry about what genre it is, as long as the music comes from the heart. You know what I mean? So we did that, and thankfully it worked out. And I've always had people asking me why won't you put some Arabic influences in it? And there have been opportunities, and I've done some collaborations with Khaliji artists. But for me, it's got to feel natural. It's got to feel like it's coming from a right place. Like I don't want to do it just because it's the latest or people expecting me to do it. Like it's got to be something that's natural. And I just feel, especially Dubai, the UAE, as Mike was saying, it's such a transient place. People come and go. Having a certain sound is not difficult, but it's something that, especially what Omar Dean was saying as well, like the introduction of internet and stuff like that. There's so many clashings or so many blending of genres nowadays. It's not like back in the day where the punk scene was happening or the house scene in Detroit was happening. Those times I think are long gone. Now we have people listening to everything, not just hip hop or not just rock music. I think people are just listening to everything in general as long as it's good music.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
Just on that, I think it's really hard for a city now to develop these scenes because of the accessibility. 43 million songs available with a click, right? And I think that's a massive kind of reality, you know what I mean? Yeah. Which doesn't necessarily mean Dubai can't have a sound, by the way. I just think it's probably not going to, we're not going to see those things happen. Yeah.
And by the end, I'm actually going to ask you guys, that question. Waleed, when you launched Y Cube, and I know you're honest in your thoughts. Obviously, it started off as something, but then it pushed a lot of people. It put a lot of people on the map way back then. Same question as Abli. Were you ever even thinking about let me be the guy who created that voice, that sound for Dubai when you launched Y Cube?
Not at all, to be honest. It really wasn't about the sound. It was more about creating an economy, whatever sound that is. It was mainly getting people paid and getting money in people's pockets so that they can spend their money on themselves, on bettering themselves, buying new gear, recording, and stuff like that. So it wasn't really about the sound. It was really about the economy. And I think, these days it's actually happening more and more. People are getting paid, and people are spending on recording and marketing and stuff like that. So yeah, but from a sound perspective, I don't think that was ever on anybody's mind.
Okay, I'm throwing this to all of you. So yesterday, I don't know, I think around 40,000 people attended a K-pop concert in Riyadh. K-pop concert. They were singing Korean, okay, in Saudi Arabia, Riyadh. And I don't know, there is something special about K-pop. I'm not sure if anyone can pitch in here, maybe Mike, Beinouni, in terms of, okay, they were able to actually create a genre that have people singing in different languages. I'm from Saudi Arabia. People are speaking Korean, man. So is that in the discussion, or that's a whole movement right there, obviously, with K-pop?
Yeah, I mean, BTS are signed to us, so props to us.
Nicely plugged.
Yeah, I mean, they're phenomenal. That show was unbelievable last night. I mean, it was incredible. And I think it shows how music can travel. It's interesting, K-pop. I mean, I'm no K-pop industry expert, but I think it's very similar to Bollywood and the Indian music scene, which, again, that genre is incredibly popular in this region. It's kind of a visual, stylized aesthetic. It's very poppy, it's very melodic, it's very hooky as a genre of music, right? So it's something that essentially, if you don't understand the words, albeit everybody was singing, a lot of people know the words, you can still engage with the genre, engage with the artist, engage with the music, and I think that's something that's quite cool.
And to that point, correct me if I'm right, Sarah, there was Sambusa and Ida were played in weddings in America. I've received those videos. I mean, Americans were singing Ila, and and...
Yeah, that's crazy to us because we always get the music from the West, but we always feel like the West doesn't really click, or our music just doesn't really click for them, and they don't understand the language. To them, maybe the language is a bit heavy. So that's very interesting. But again, K-pop is also very interesting because their language is also not very easy on the ears if you don't understand it. And to me, I host a radio show, so I have to play like the top 40 and stuff. And a lot of times I get a lot of K-pop and people love it. So I'm like, okay, that's what you guys want, so I'm gonna play it. But I mean, it's interesting how out of nowhere, literally everybody loves K-pop and people are speaking Korean, and I have friends who just know Korean now, which is crazy because Korean is not really the first culture you think of when you think, you know, of something going global. It's kind of like you would think Latin would be more popular because the language is just more global in that sense.
Yeah. No, yeah, go ahead. I mean, as you're getting the mic, I personally think that what K-pop was also able to do is to transcend that culture. Like how you guys are doing with Arabic culture going to the States, and getting to know about us, getting to know our traditions through music. But yeah, go ahead.
No, I think the most interesting thing about your question about K-pop is that that's recently. That's, as we're talking about the internet age, K-pop has taken another life through the age of internet, as has trap in Atlanta. So when we talk about whether a sound can be associated to a place, the internet plays a big role in that. We don't have communities where it's going to the same gig and the same show and being inspired by the same music because you only live in one city. You can have artists from here being influenced by a sound in Toronto, and then be doing Toronto music from Dubai, which is the beauty of the internet. And going back to what Abri says, as well as Omar, it's 100% correct, because as an artist, when he's listening to somebody or a sound from other places, that obviously soul and R&B and neo-soul, they're not Dubai sounds, but he's relating to the content and the subject matter and the sounds of another place more than the environment around him. So the internet has made that obviously quicker and faster, and obviously a lot more prevalent. But when you look at what you just said about K-pop and you know, these new genres like in the US, these are things, PBR&B in Toronto being a big one as well, these are things that happened through the age of the internet. So these are things that, these are cities that are still getting sounds through this renaissance in the digital age, you know?
Can I just add to?
Go ahead.
This is like for Mike as well. Just in general, I feel like marketing plays a big part in the community that you're involved in. I know some artists in here, one being, you know, a few artists in here that are incredible. I know they're amazing, and I know they all have the potential to reach worldwide audiences. It's just also about the community, because as good as you are, you're as good as the people you surround yourself with. And it does come down to a lot of marketing. I'm sure, you know, with BTS or whatever, there was a plan behind that. There was some sort of strategic marketing that brought them to this worldwide level. If we're just waiting for an artist to blow up and for them to be trending and viral to sign them to think they're good enough, then it's really hard. It's you know, it's hard without the team and the push behind you, especially if you're doing it independently. I mean, good music will always transcend and it'll always attract people. But if we're talking about Dubai developing a sound and people from outside of Dubai looking at Dubai and saying, oh, this artist is from Dubai and he's killing it right now, I feel like the way that we can rise to that is by having good marketing and, you know, labels perhaps giving an opportunity to Dubai to bring these people to the limelight and possibly getting them to collaborate with outside artists or do shows outside, but being known that they're from Dubai. And that's I think something that would be great for this place.
Mike, you want to?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, completely. I agree completely. It's why we've been working with Zero and MoFlow and Holophonic for 2-3 years, pre-Spotify rolling in and Deezer rolling in, and the Angami guys have been awesome, and Rami's here, which is great. And our mission is to invest in talent and to export talent, and well, to establish success locally and also to make that music travel. And I think one of the things that is really important as a label, as a global label, and we talk about this a lot. I just got back from Miami where we talked a lot at a global level about how are we connecting the dots between territories. A lot of talk about Latin, a lot of talk about K-pop, a lot of talk about the Arabic region and what's going on. 500 million Arabs here and around the world, like this is blowing up, right? So for us, it's about investing, it's about smart people working with artists to move music, making hits, obviously, and having great A&R, and having creative brilliance when it comes to the funnel and moving that music around the world. And thankfully we do, I think we're pretty proud of our achievements as a global company in doing that.
Bless. I mean, taking that, Beilouni, are we actually as a community doing enough to create a sound? If we want to create a sound for Dubai, like the guys at Bahrain Outlaw Productions created, in my opinion, the Khaliji hip hop sound. They're the one that were actually, steering that. So they created, it's Khaliji hip hop. It belongs to Outlaw Productions, and mainly they were. Do you think in Dubai, are we working as a community hard enough to establish that sound? Or
No,
why?
I don't think so.
What do we need to do?
I think it's a multifaceted problem. There's so many different things that need to change, which is part of growth, which is, it's nothing to be ashamed of. But the scene now is in a better place than it ever has been before. That's without doubt the number of artists breaking through, the amount of music coming out. But a lot of people talk about this transient nature to Dubai. It's not something I really buy, because I can go to Canada and it has the same diaspora as now the UK has, or especially France and the Netherlands. So as much as we can be influenced by countries that are, that have so many different ethnicities in one place, and they have found a sound, I'm pretty sure that they'd be able to find a sound from us if we celebrated the same way they celebrate their diaspora, rather than trying to attach to something. And I think what's happened a lot lately is we've had a lot of imitation, where in the case of Sarah with what they did, there was an element of taking something that's connecting with people but making it their own. And I think that's where the chasm is between what we want to do and what we're doing. Is take something from somewhere else if you really feel you're connecting with it, but you don't have to latch onto it. You can make it your own by your environment, using that as part of your inspiration.
Abri, what do you think of that?
Can I just jump in there? I think just since we're on that subject and Beilouni was speaking, I think it's important to realize that there is a very small number of producers working on the majority of the tracks that are put out. And obviously, Beilouni, one of them. There's AY. I think that there's a few. Elvis, maybe at Soundstruck.
We got like Jones in the building. We got the Tax. We got others. Yeah, that's Andy's. There's a lot of producers.
There's a lot of producers, but it's a small number compared to the artist and compared to the number of tracks they touch. So I think it's probably more on the producers to add whatever elements to this artist's track and that artist's track and that artist's track. So it's kind of
he makes a good point, because sometimes I'll have sessions with artists, not to name any, but they'll show me references of sounds that are nothing to do with that are non-relatable to what they go through here. And as a producer at the same time, you're not gonna like Waleed makes a great point, but I'm not gonna tell an artist like, oh well, I'm only gonna go so far with your expression, because there's also this responsibility to make it slightly different. But that's why I meant Waleed's point is perfectly great, but it also has to come from artists. So an artist has to say, I want to change this part of this sound that I'm influenced by and make it my own. So it's sort of like,
I get you. Abri, as an artist, did that ever, you work with producers, did that cross your mind, what Beilouni is saying in terms of, like you want to incorporate some Arab samples, for example, in your music, or?
I think what we're seeing recently is the fact that why a lot of artists in the Arab regions are doing so well is because they're using the Arab language. I've seen a lot of Sons of Yusuf. There's a few other artists, Jadal, I think, Mashru Leila, who are doing amazing, because they're using. I think that's what the audience is or the people, the young people, or the listeners are gravitating to, is because they're singing in their language. You know what I mean? And I think that's a connection that they have, because even a lot of these artists that I mentioned, they're doing Western type of music. It's either electronic or rock or hip hop, but at the end of the day, they're using a language that they understand, that they kind of relate to. What I'm trying to do with the next project that I'm working with a producer he's a musician in my band, Ili, as he was suggesting that we try and incorporate Khaliji sounds as samples on the songs, and so that way I can continue doing singing in English or singing in the way I am singing, but having that connection with the Khaliji, old school traditional Khaliji percussion and sounds.
I mean, I can't wait to personally hear that. Omar Deen, for you, you're Australian Lebanese. You ever thought of incorporating that Arab part of you in your music at any point of your career?
I think it was very clear in Australia that I was Arab. You know, everyone. I was the first Lebanese guy on TV. Like, it was very weird for people. So I think they always know that, and I'm very proud of that. And my name says it. It's Omar.
It's Omar Deen. Yeah.
So like, it already stands out. You know, I think that people know that. They know that I respect that. I appreciate it. That's where I'm from. But I do, you know, the music that resonates with me, and that's R&B. If it does happen naturally, that I feel like I could sample something or put something in my music, then that's going to happen naturally. It's not a strategic thing that I think about just to try and get to a wider audience or to create a specific sound. It just comes natural, I guess.
Okay, so we were talking, just to give you a little bit of perspective, off air panel, and I said I have a boom question, and I think this is like the more boom question. I don't know if it will make it up to the hype, but okay, so this is what it is. And again, I want you all to feel free to, because I really think it's a problem, and even the audience, I don't know if you guys agree with me. Okay. So Dubai as a city is actually used as a cash Burj Khalifa desert reference. You agree? I mean, in international songs. That bothers me personally a lot. Now, in a recent interview, a rapper, Young Jeezy, was asked, what are you doing in Dubai? And his answer was like, I'm getting the Arab money, man. You know what I mean? That kind of, it is a certain stereotype about this city when it comes to luxury. It's luxury, luxury, luxury. And that's why I salute people like the Menins, the Freaks, because they are actually discussing something, and many other artists as well. They're discussing something, but again, it doesn't really go up to the level because it's luxury. International artists come here for 2 days without meeting any of you guys, shoot in the desert, feed a couple of monkeys, and then go back home. And then period, done. So my question is, do you think that we're going to be able to remove this kind of identity? And again, I want to go over all of you guys, you know, starting maybe with Beynouni.
I think we have to. I think we have to.
How?
By the things that we've been talking about today, but from what you're saying, it's true that, you know, people from outside sing about that when they come to Dubai, but that's a tourist's view of a city that they don't belong to. So if we don't give them a reason to connect with us from another place about what we're singing about, for them to be like, I didn't know that they feel that way in Dubai. I didn't know that they experience those things in Dubai. And the sound represents that as well, musically. Then when they come to Dubai, that won't actually be a topic, the same way a lot of people here relate to other genres. So it really is on us as a community to change that. It's not something that's going to happen by waiting, or it's not a game. If I go to Thailand and I'm inspired by all these things I've done in a touristic way, and I sing a song about Thailand, of course people in Thailand are going to be like, well, that's not what Thailand is about. So
yeah, but I mean, Mike, again, going what Beynouni said, this is a fact though. Like I'm talking big stars come here, huge stars. They come here, they do a gig in some club, and then they leave without connecting with the community, without doing anything. So that idea will never change. Will always be that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that. I think every city's got anecdotal things like that. I'm not sure I agree with it. I think, look, the question is the perception of the city, right? And I can't talk to the perception of the city. I live here for 12 years. I love this place. I love the country. I think it's multicultural. I think it's diverse and it's offering to people. I think a lot of people come here and they experience a myriad of different things. I think you have pockets of experience that relate to what you just said, and you have equally a lot of pockets that relate to things that aren't that. The question comes down to kind of, can we create an ecosystem here that is attractive to artists to come here and to do things other than take money and play shows? So if I think about a lot of our artists that have been here, they've had wonderful experiences in the UAE. They've spent time here, we've recorded, they've taken desert drives, a lot of stuff, and none of it's gone on social media. They've enjoyed the country. The hospitality of the country, I think, is fantastic. So I think from my experience and our experience, there's a huge number of experiences artists have had that is not that, right? The role is all verticals, right? As the technical guys say, whether it's retail, whether it's music, film, art, right? You know, tourism, hotels, is about projecting a welcoming ecosystem where people can come in and not take advantage, but can engage with it. Now, do we have a music ecosystem here? So do we have an ecosystem, and this is what Nomad are trying to do, right? And the whole city are getting switched on to that notion that, hang on, if artists and producers, and as Waleed mentioned, I agree completely, there's more of that talent needs to come in, that they need facilities, they need the right ecosystem to do that. Music cities, it's about music ecosystem, right? It's about live venues. You know, like, I was thinking about this the other day, and I just went on Google and looked at, like, how many gigs happen around the world in cities, right? And what was interesting to me was, like, London's 35,000 shows last year. Wow. Melbourne's number one, 75,000 shows. Melbourne's, like, way ahead, which I didn't know about. New York, 31, Paris, 30.
You're talking per year?
Per year. So then you think, because artists need to perform, and the way that all these movements happen in cities is because of gigs, right? It's because people going to shows and engaging with the music, not studio-based movements. They were gig-based movements, whether it be on the street with hip-hop, whether it be in nightclubs with techno, whatever it may be. So there's the conversation is about ecosystem. Your point is artists will come here and get paid for shows and do big gigs, okay? Like they do in London, like they do in Singapore, like they do in Hong Kong, Shanghai, all over the world.
Yeah, but the artists that go to London don't go on and talking about London, not the sound. Over here, we're talked about us. Like when this guy said Arab money, I mean, we have money, but I don't have oil in my house, man. You know, like, really, this is the perception. People think that every one of us over here, Arabs, this is the perception, whether we like it or no. But I get what you're saying. And I think it's a duty from the artists, the producers, the community over here to change that.
Everybody, have a different narrative.
True.
So it's about having another narrative to that overseas community, and the responsibility of labels, of people that are at all aspects of the business is to project a narrative that says you can get more from this city in a lot of different areas. It's not to say what you're doing is wrong or right. It's just there's other things that you can do.
I love that. Sarah, for you, obviously, you know, again, when I remember when, oh my God, I forgot his name. Who came to Bahrain? It's not, a legend came to Bahrain, performed with Flip. He's a hip-hop legend. DMC, man, Run DMC from DMC came to perform in Bahrain, and they actually were on stage together performing. And he connected with you guys, connected with Flip. So do you see that in Bahrain? A lot of people, international stars coming in, doing what stars do and then going back without taking anything?
I mean, we don't get a lot of people who come to Bahrain. But when they do come, I do hear a lot of times about, you know, artists coming in. But from what I see, they do enjoy the country, because Bahrain is a bit different than Dubai, right? It's less diverse. It is diverse, but it's just very different than Dubai. There's a lot of traditional places to go to and stuff like that. It's just different than Dubai. So they do enjoy the place for sure. Now, when it comes to Dubai, I want to kind of go back to the whole sound thing because I didn't comment on that. Now, as an outsider, the way I see it, I feel like Dubai, it has the potential to be, it already is, but I feel like it has the potential to be even more, and the leader of music in, or the industry in the region. So I don't see the problem in it not having a distinctive sound because it's super diverse. I think it's tough for it to develop a sound. Not that it can't. It can, but I feel like the beauty of it is that there's people from different backgrounds that all bring in their own elements. And I think over time, all of that is kind of going to merge into a sound. But for now, I feel like the beauty of it is the diversity. And I think Dubai definitely, with the labels here and the executives and stuff, you guys have a lot of experts from the industry in Dubai as opposed to like Bahrain, for example. We don't have Sony or Universal or stuff. So I feel like this puts Dubai in a position where it's definitely a leader, and it can be the LA of the region.
It's very interesting you say that, yeah. A big round of applause, because I do think that what you said, so what you're saying is somehow the sound of Dubai could be diversity.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any issue, and this is me as an outsider, I don't see any issue in it not developing a specific sound, and especially now with the lines are as blurred as ever between genres, between countries, so I don't see that issue, but I mean, any artist can come up and create a trend, right? So in Bahrain, we never had the trend of like Khaliji hip hop, but then it happened.
It was created.
Which
yeah.
any artist can come up and start a trend, and then it can catch on for sure. So like with us, it started with Ela, for example, and then it became, we started doing it on Afro beats. So Afro beats with Khaliji elements, whether it's a Saudi sound or like a Adani sound. And we experimented with different stuff. So it's definitely possible to start a trend as an artist and then have it catch on in your community. But I feel like it should never be forced. And especially with what Abri was saying, I agree in the sense that you don't have to force that Arabic sample in your track just to add an Arabic sample.
I love that. Abri, going back to you as of course an Emirati, does that bother you? Like the fact, the perception? Well, you know, I know the guys commented, but I mean, for me personally, man, it does. Like, I'll just be very honest with you guys. It really bothers me because we have more stuff. Like, for example, the Abu Dhabi of Freak, the Dubai that Menin or the recipe described. The recipe got Talib Kouali on a rooftop in Satwa, in Karama. Talib Kouali, one of the legends, he was in a rooftop. He didn't, you know? So, does that bother you, the fact?
No, man. I mean, I remember when I went to college in Miami around 2000, 2001, and at that time, all they knew about Dubai was the fact that we had Burj Al Arab, which is the 7-star hotel. I mean, now seeing the fact that Abu Dhabi or Dubai is mentioned in songs and rap songs specifically, I think that's great. Dubai has always been known for as a city or as a country, UAE as a country that is always trying to do things as grand and as big as possible and trying to be they're always trying for greatness. And I think that's the fact that people are coming down here and trying to rub off that greatness is amazing. That being said, if people really want to come down here and get to discover and get to know the UAE, I think they'll stay here a few more days and definitely find out what Dubai or UAE or Abu Dhabi or any other Emirates has to offer. I think coming down here and doing a show for 1 or 2 days doesn't really show you what the country's all about. And I think if somebody wanted to do that, they would do that. I've seen artists who have, there's a neo-soul artist in the name of Maxwell. He was here for a few weeks, and he was just kind of, getting to discover Dubai the way it should be discovered, checking out different parts of Dubai.
I love what you said, and I salute you for saying that, because I really do think, to clarify, I think it also depends on the artist. Like, artists like that would come in and actually be interested to figure out the actual city, Waleed, go, and then I'll go back to you and Omar.
I think before, maybe a few years ago, 10, maybe 15 years ago, if you ask somebody, what their perception of Dubai was, when I was in Toronto, and everyone's like, oh, do you guys go to school on a camel? Everybody's heard that before. So I think maybe what happened was, the marketing material that was made for Dubai, like officially, was all about luxury and money and to change that perception. So that is the official perception that was exported outside, right? So it's just an important, part to realize that this was the official message that happened. And then now, I think, over the last 2 or 3 years, the same people that are putting out this official message are in touch with artists like Hamdan, like everybody else. So now you can have that connection of showing Abu Dhabi, Freaks Abu Dhabi and Menon's Dubai and the recipes Dubai in those official channels.
Omar, for you as somebody who's recently, of course, blessed us Dubai with your sound and voice. No, I'm serious about that. How do you see it? Like, did you have that perception before coming here, and then that perception was validated when you were living here?
Well, I never had an initial perception because I just don't do that. But I came here by chance. I was passing through Lebanon and then got booked for a gig here. And just from spending one night here, I think that was on me. I wanted to discover more. I asked questions. I said, what is it like being a gigging artist in the region? And then someone came at me with an opportunity that allowed me to stay here for 6 months, and that's turned into a year and a half. I feel like that was on me to come and explore the diversity, to ask questions, and that's on us as well from here to talk about it. When I talk to my friends back home and I tell them there's this artist festival that's going on, know this guy, I link them, Abri's music, and I link them music from people here, and they're like, dude, this is good. And I'm like, yes, this is, so it's on us as well to bring attention to this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just to point out, I remember Shaybani and Beilouni. We were in Seoul, and there was the HER drummer. This is a very funny story. The amazing artist, her drummer. They were talking to him, and then and I was just witnessing this whole thing. Was beautiful, and he asked them, "So, when'd you guys fly in?" And I swear to God, both of them, like, we are actually from here. And he's like, "Whoa, you sound dope," because he heard their sound check. So to your point, I agree with that. Beilouni?
Yeah, no, so just to go back to what your question and how Mike answered it, because it ties in with what Omar and Sarah are saying as well. When artists come here, and Omar's example is a perfect flip of your question, right? Because he's an artist that's come from another country, he's come to Dubai, but with those other big artists, when they come here, they get immersed in the culture of UAE, but they don't necessarily get immersed in the art of UAE. So yeah, they can take, the desert trips and they can do all of those, nice things, and they learn about the UAE, but then it sort of stops. When do they get immersed in UAE art? And if you look at Omar's case, he came here, he was interested in the city and looked into the art and then stuck here and was like, I want to stay here. So there's a completely different reaction from an international artist based on what he's looking into. And I think one of the most important things we have to remember is that in terms of the music scene, you could still say UAE is in sort of like an infancy / adolescent state, but just like a human being, when you're 13 to 16 years old or you're a toddler, you're interested in everything. You want to do a little bit of everything. You try a bit of karate, you try horse riding, golf, football. But then eventually with time, the more you try something, you eventually go, I want to be a golfer. But it takes time, and it takes, like what Sarah's saying, you don't have to, suddenly from now make a rule, it's all our job now to find a sound in Dubai. It will eventually happen, but it happens by experimentation, maybe by biting off of other people's sounds, just like a kid would try different things and eventually learn what he wants to become. I sort of feel that's what's happening with the scene now.
I agree.
Sorry, I just want to add that as someone who came here, obviously, once you indulge in the culture and you really realize, how much greatness is going on in individuals here, I think you become more invested in it. And then, sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
It's all good. Give him a big round of applause. Omar Dean.
No, I just want, like in terms of, shit, I just really went blank.
It's all good. We'll come back. We'll come back to that.
I just wanted to talk.
I'll help it. I'll jump in. I wanted to add as well, just like, I think the creative economy of Dubai, like we go back to what Sarah was saying about, like, I agree with her. I don't think it's possible to get a sound, to be honest. I think what I'm hearing from everybody, I think, which is pretty cool, is just a lot of good sounds.
Yeah.
And that there is a creativity around all of that, and I think that's enough. I think it's about, it's ultimately, my kind of 30,000 feet would be like that for me is what it's about.
I like that. Guys, I want you to prepare your questions because I still have 2 more questions. So we're going to open the floor to you.
Sorry, just
you got
so
the
I
train
look
back?
like an idiot.
All right.
No, I just wanted to say that it has the makings to be great, honestly. The fact that big artists are coming in and out of the country all the time, the fact that you're holding so many events, so many networking events as well, where we're able to meet people and talk about our experiences and stuff, that's already the makings to be something great. I think if we, as artists, not shooting shots or anything, but if we turn down our egos, if we work for the benefit of the place, regardless if you're from here or not, but anything's a community, whether you were born in a place or not, you only rise when you're working with other people. So I feel like if people do that in this region, instead of giving up on it because we're discouraged, because it's only big artists coming and that this is the perception they have, if we actually get motivated by that, and realize that it's actually in the benefit of Dubai that people are talking about Dubai and they're coming in and out of the country, then we can use that and really grasp onto it and then release what we have as artists and as producers and as a community, and then that will change everything, I feel like.
Nice, yes. Thank you, Omar. Yeah, of course. Sarah, you recently, and then I'll ask you guys one final question, so prepare your questions, the audience. You recently posted this video, you sampling some Arab sample, and I think it got really, like, a lot of people gravitate Thank you. That word, to it. So how does that make you feel? Does that make you feel, like you need to do more of that?
For sure, but I don't feel like I need to do that every single time I drop a video. If I'm feeling it, definitely. And that day I was just feeling it.
You're just feeling it. I hope you feel it all day. No, personally, I really loved it because, again, my 2 cents in this, and again, we have 6 incredible people, so if I may just say my 2 cents, it's, for me, it has always been a duty of producers to make and I think with you, Kay, Sarah, Outlaw, and I know Outlaw since 12, 13 years. Outlaw was a guy, boom bap. He did a song about Bahrain. He did a song about unity. And guess what? No media called him. No CNN called him. No one was caring about him whatsoever. That's his wording. And then when he made Sambusa, all of a sudden, hello, yo, we'll book you up. Yeah. So he followed the trend.
Yeah. But on that note, I just want to say that, Outlaw is definitely the pioneer of creating that sound. It was all him. So shout out to him.
Shout out to him. Give him a big round of applause. DJ Outlaw. Okay. You want to add something?
No.
Okay, cool. All right, so one last question, and then we'll open the floor to all of you guys. And the question is, I loved everything that you guys said. It's really inspiring. But as zubda, like we say in Saudi, or the butter, do you really think, and we'll start like from you, Waleed, and onward, do you really think that having a sound is important? Like this whole discussion that we're having, at the end of the day, is it something important? Because I just want to finalize this. Is it important?
I don't think it's horribly important. It does have a sound or it doesn't have a sound. It's okay either way. It's fine.
It's not a problem to you personally.
Yes. To me personally, it's not an issue. I know the artists that I like to listen to. I listen to these artists, and sometimes I relate to them if they have a sound that I relate to, and the sound usually is related to the place. But because I know not everybody's, let's say, I don't know what the word is, but maybe patriotic to the place, they won't create something for the place. So maybe I won't be, gravitating towards their sound. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, can we take a break for the prayer break, or yeah? So let's take a quick break, just with respect for the prayer. A couple of minutes, we'll be back. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for respecting that. Really appreciate it. Okay. طيب, we were talking, Waleed, thank you. We were talking about the having a sound. And again, prepare your questions, you guys, because I know we have a couple of artists in the audience. Would love to hear from you. So, Dean, that's your name, huh? Omar Dean. With you, really, it's interesting. Australian, Lebanese, you're now based here. But do you really think it's important? You know, everything that you said was on point. But do you think it's important at the end of the day to have a sound? Is that something necessary?
I don't think it's so much about the sound, just like the way that culturally we're progressing, and as people, we're not putting labels on things anymore, and we're just being what we are, right? And I feel like what people connect with is emotion and a story. It's not so much about the sound, because the sound gives it a title, gives it an expectation. But I feel like if you have something that stems from an emotion, a personal story, then that's how you connect. And that's going to, I think, transcend the whole idea of sound.
Okay. Abri?
Yeah, I don't think it's important. I think doing what you feel is coming from the heart, or is coming from you know, is true to yourself. I think that's the important thing. I don't think artists should overthink things and you know, try so hard to kind of see if they can fit in and do a certain sound and see if, you know, I think at the end of the day, it gets a little muddy. I think at the end of the day, you just do the music that you want to do, and eventually it will gravitate to people you know, that will eventually love your music. I think more important than the sound, I think community is more important. I think a lot of us know each other. We support each other in the gigs that we do. I know, but Luna, we have, you know, these insane talks. I think the community is much more important than having a sound. I think at the end of the day, as we said before, sound, the internet and people, you know, knowing each other's cultures, and I don't think it's important anymore. I think just be true to yourself and do the music that you want to do.
Got you. Sarah?
I think as a city, not necessarily. I think as an individual, to a certain extent, it is important to have your own sound, whether you're an artist, a producer, a mix engineer as well, by the way. Mix engineers just get left out of the conversation. But thanks.
Yes,
but
you
for
make the magic
engineers-
happen. Yeah, no?
Yeah, engineers also have their own distinctive sound. There's a reason you decide, you know, I want to give this track to Serban, or I want to give this track to Jason Joshua. I want this sound. I want that sound. So I think that's important as well. So I think definitely it's something that makes you distinct from everybody else is important. I feel like at the same time, though, you don't have to get stuck to it and feel like, oh, that's it for the rest of my career. Because every producer who started, let's say, in the 80s or the 90s and is still here today has evolved. It's the same with mix engineers as well. If you get stuck in whatever you were doing 20, 30 years ago and you're not open to evolving, then you're just stuck back then. So I think have your distinct sound and be open to just evolving that.
I like that. Mike?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think Abri said something there about community. For me, there's two parts to it for me. There's the artist community, and it's not important. I think artists need to have a sense of creative storytelling, narrative, quality, and community. And I think that's super important. Now, from a city perspective, I love cities that celebrate their cultures, and I think we've got a great culture in this city, and so music plays a fundamental part in connecting cultures. It's the only real passion point that spans all cultures, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so film doesn't, art doesn't, music does. So I think it's really important that that ecosystem piece that I talked about before, is that a sound? It's not. It's celebrating music, and it's celebrating the music of the city, and creating opportunities, whether it be commercial opportunities, artistic opportunities, just training and development opportunities for the artist community to grow and be bigger and broader and have more experiences and have more opportunities to tell their voice and to tell their stories.
Perfect.
So I think I look at it from those two sides.
Thank you for that. Beiluni, for you?
For me, actually, I do think it's important, but from the angle of if you more or less checking yourself. So like Sarah was saying as an individual, Abri was saying it as well, you know, you have to be free and express, you know, anything that you want to express as an artist. But if you ask yourself from an individual level, do I sound different? Do I sound unique? Do I sound true to myself? That self-critical aspect of the question individually, I think, helps you make more artistic decisions. And I think as a city or as a place, if we ask ourselves, you know, are we developing a sound here? It could be metaphorical to, you know, a community, like the guys are saying. But I do think that it's important, because if the question arises, the answer maybe doesn't make as much of a difference or is as important as as questioning it is.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. If I may add, myself, I do think it's crucially important. With all due respect to all of you guys, I think it is very important, and actually it's a must. I say this in a very respectful way. I do think that our voices, I'm talking politically as well, our voices is being told for us. We got people that talk our stories for us, and I think music and artists are ways and tools to change that. Now, I do respect the creative freedom of every artist. I love that. I respect it. But I do think that it's also, it's a thin line. It's a duty that you do something. It's a duty. There's where's men in that, yeah. It's a duty that an artist would actually, you know, portray their culture using their music. But that's my opinion. But
Can I jump in there, Has? Just
quickly, real quick, because I want to open the floor.
Real quick. If you move away from music, just as a larger, more, let's say, global conversation, the general world is moving away from group identity and group, you know, and moving towards the individual. So I think that's probably what's happening here as well, that, you know, it's not necessary to be part of a group to have an identity as part of a, you know, a culture or a place or something, and it's more focused on the individual. I think that's what the time is now.
It's very interesting. Can I hear a big round of applause for all these incredible panelists? I think we got like, you know, 15 or so plus minutes, and I really want to open the floor to questions. Yes, I love that. Arkenshaw, we got Anrami, we got the beautiful lady here, we got from this side, Jones. Okay, so is there a mic, or shall I just go? Oh, there's a mic here. All right, ladies first. Let's go with the, yeah, okay, perfect.
Hi everyone. I'm sort of more of a comment. My name is Alia. I'm from the UAE. I agree with Hamdan in terms of we already have a sound, which is the Khaliji sound.
Yes.
And the beauty of the Khaliji sound, it's diverse. There's already a lot of influence from the region on it. So whether it's of African origins or Iranian or, you know, Levant. So it is a great example of how diversity and music can play a role. Dr. Aisha Bilkhair has written about the influence of Africa in culture and music of Dubai. So I believe there are a lot of efforts, and when it comes to things like R&B, hip-hop, it's not so far removed from our sort of genetics. At the end of the day, we are storytellers, we are poets. So it's really an extension of the already music scene that is here. The language can be different, but at the end of the day, the message is the same, which is, you know, the spoken word and the importance of it.
Yeah, no, thank you, Alia, for that. If I may just comment quickly, it's interesting you say that because you're right. All the Khaliji cities have that sound already. It's embedded. I think the topic here is mainly the indie/alternative artists that are trying to create that sound. But I totally believe in everything that you said. Rami from Rami, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I want to try and make this as short as possible, and I will.
Yeah, Satir.
So there are 3 points or 4 points that I would have loved to hear more of from the panelists stating the diverse side. So I'll just throw out headlines. I think this could be the sound that comes from Dubai and not necessarily the sound of Dubai, but that's not the point. I think Dubai is missing a music community. It's broken, in my opinion. And I think the Nomad and this gathering comes to it. I think there isn't enough media and podcasts and editorial that talks about what's happening, and that's a big deal. I think the producers' ecosystem and A&R's ecosystem is incomplete, which means artists end up having to do everything on their own. And it's a big burden on creativity. And I'm hoping to see more of that after here. I think people still work in silos. I don't see a lot of, and I'll give a very stupid example. Every single artist has an Instagram account, and your Instagram account tells you who's following you. If you just take that insight and you come to a streaming service or a label and say, hey, those 22 to 35-year-olds here listen to my music or follow me on social, what do they listen to? Is going to give you a great direction in how to start creating music for the people, because you know what your people are listening to. And that's the challenge of artists trying to balance, like Omar was saying, you know, I sing what I feel that come out from me, but at the same time, I think, and Mike can sort of comment on this is you also have to sing for the people in your style. The third point is I think we need to see more experiments. A lot of the music that comes out as Anghami, and we don't struggle. I mean, a lot of music is good, but one of the things that helps is when we start hearing new things work instead of us being diluted within the international repertoire. So when we sample Arabic on English singing, or we sing Arabic on international, and Abri, you tapped on, there are lots of examples like Sons of Yusuf and Mashrou' Layla. I think that fusion in a country that's multicultural, we need to see way more of that. And the final point is, and I point this point to artists, is use social media more. Dubai is a canvas. You can be in the heritage village, in the desert, on top of Burj Khalifa, in a Ferrari or in a classic Datsun, and you can tell your story because of what Dubai gives. A lot of the artist profiles on social, if I go through it all, I can never know you're a musician except because it says musician at the top. And I think that also play a role in marketing and in how you position yourself to connect with people. And I would have loved to hear more of that. So I don't know if you want to comment or we take that later.
Yeah, thank you, Rami, from Anghami. Yeah, big round of applause.
Yeah, so I think in your case, the three questions, there's a lot of correlation between them. I think your concern about artists being extremely DIY, not from the Khaliji point of view, like you were saying, but the fact that there's a lot of DIY work sort of is a case where an artist you have 10 out of 10 time, but you can only spend 1 out of 10 on 10 different things rather than 9 out of 10 being creative or etc. And I think that's one of the reasons why you end up not seeing, you feeling when you see a profile that the profile isn't totally artistic because they're trying to manage a lot of other different things at the same time. I think in the case of experimentation and sounding different, I think, like we were saying before, I do feel that it's something that happens with time, but I think it's more of being patient for artists to find that balance between what is my unique sound, whether that be the sound of Dubai or not, but what is my unique sound? Sarah was mentioning that as well. But the one I agree with you the most is that in terms of the editorial stuff and the support from non-musical things for artists, I do feel that when that side of the industry grows, I think you'll start to see artists totally focus on expression and storytelling than, worrying so much about, social media or I need to get blogs, I need to get reviews, I need to get interviews. So I think all these problems are of a scene that's still growing rather than judging it by a developed scene's criteria.
Yeah, Abri?
Yeah, and when I think when me and Omar Dini were talking about the fact that we want to do music that's true to us, you also got to keep in mind that at the end of the day, you as an artist is a brand. I definitely agree with you in the fact that you got to be out there, social media, make sure you have a website and everything else, because at the end of the day, you got to be known. No matter what kind of music you're doing, at the end of the day, it's got to be, there's got to be some, you got to think of yourself as a brand. And I think that's important. I think I definitely agree with you on that one.
No, thank you.
Sorry, just to say one more
Go
thing. Sorry, briefly, what Hamdan is saying is very true because a lot of the times DIY artists are trying to take a passion and make it a profession. So you have to juggle between wearing your creativity / artist hat, and then it's sometimes, it depends on the personality of the person involved. It's not easy then for someone to just take that hat off and then judge their music with no emotion, no personal attachment, as maybe a business entity would. So it goes back to what you're saying about having,
100%, if I may say, for example, with Outlaw Productions, I know Lil Easy from Saudi is signed to Outlaw Productions. And I know Lil Easy way before Lil Easy becomes like who he is. And now when I reach out to him, guess what? He sent, reach out to Sarah to arrange, and he's like my friend, like he's somebody I'm close with. So do you think that what Rami is saying is also that representation?
See, the thing is with me and Outlaw. So me and Outlaw run Outlaw Productions. So we manage the artists and we're artists ourselves. So it goes back to what you're saying. It's tough to sometimes take that hat off, and sometimes we get caught up in the emails, the craziness, the bookings, the shows and stuff behind the scenes rather than us being the artists. So I do understand what you're talking about when you're playing the role of both the business person and the artist as well.
Yeah.
So sometimes us as artists, we neglect ourselves,
Yeah.
Outlaw and I. So sometimes you have to remind yourself, I'm also an artist. I have to, at the end of the day, once I'm done with the emails and the bookings and stuff, I need to get back in the studio. So yeah, but I do have to agree with what Rami said about, singing to the people, and that's what also Abri was saying, he found that singing in Arabic gets you farther here, because we took a look at our statistics, and the majority of our YouTube subscribers are from Saudi. So in Saudi, obviously, the majority speak Arabic over English, so it just resonates more.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I know Shaybani, he is an artist, and she just came back from a mall trying to bring some equipment or stuff for her listening party, which is going back now again. Sir, please say your name and where you're from.
Hi, I'm George. I'm from the UK. I have a lot of questions, but I'm going to start with just two.
Go.
The first one to Mike. Do you think an artist here could get signed, an artist can get signed locally, could break around the world? Do you think an act that kind of is based here, Arabic or not, maybe a kind of an expat or something, do you think they could get signed here and break globally?
Yeah, I mean, I think, good question, absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's what we're in the business for. Our goal here is to break records from this region. Look, it's linked to this question, right? So in the last year, YouTube Music, Spotify, Apple ramping up Deezer, Angami, there's a huge amount of music companies now in Dubai, okay, and also in other parts of the region. There's a lot of labels there's a lot of distributors, there's a lot of industry people coming in, and I've been here 12 years, and that's not been the case for a long time. And the artist community needs those commercial businesses to be operating in the region. I firmly believe that the next big global smash, which region is it going to come from? I think we've got a really great chance in the Middle East. Now, it may not, yeah, more power to that. It may not come from Dubai, to be fair. It may come out of Shabby in Cairo. It may come out of a Moroccan artist. It may come out of a Levant indie vibe. We don't know, right? But if you make disruptive records and records that can travel, i.e. these communities of commercial music people believe that music can travel, there's a huge chance. There's a huge chance.
Yeah. Just an add-on to that then, do you think, how do you battle with the expats here? Is the radio here as powerful as it is in the UK? Are you battling to get on playlists on Virgin or Channel 4? Is it as powerful, or is it kind of more online?
If I may just answer that point, and thank you for bringing it up. For example, Morocco, right? Manal is signed to you guys. When Manal is performing, I mean, she's a singer, a rapper, artist from Morocco. She's performing for the people. So it goes back to what Ms. Alia here was saying. The majority of people in UAE listen to Khaliji music, supposedly, right? UAE, Khaliji music. So that's why when Hussein al-Jismi or Balqis does music, it connects to them. But when Abri, who does soul, incredible music, it's not a lot of people from here that would connect to it. I'm talking on a mass level. It's just not the music. Manal is, when she's rapping or she's talking, she's speaking the Moroccan dialect. Hence, it makes a big connection. And no, radio over here is not supporting, with all due respect. I've been working in radio for the past 12 years, and I'll say it clear and loud. And people tell me, radio people hate me because of that reason. I had to fight to host a hip-hop radio show in one of the most conservative countries on earth, Saudi Arabia. And I had to go and tell them, no, hip-hop exists, Arabic hip-hop exists. It took a fight. I lost money. I lost my job for 3 weeks because I played a song I was not supposed to play it, but I did it. It happened. In the UK, it happened. Low Key, who's a political artist, wanted to shout out Palestine on the radio, on BBC. It was rejected. The people got together, SMS'd the BBC, 1,000 messages. Guess what? BBC played that song. So what I mean is the people at the end, it's you guys that have more power than any radio, than any record label, in my opinion. The people have the power. And I think once you guys realize that, you'll be able to take over. And I'm about to get a beating from Mike.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to stop him now because we all want to get home, right? We don't want the guys coming in. But back to Sarah and Outlaw and the work. I mean, she's been totally humble about the stuff that they've been doing the last few years because it's absolutely unbelievable. And I think if you take a look at that music, it's disruptive. It's trying to play around with genre, with language. And I'll be honest with you, for us, like we took a look at, we know each other and I know Outlaw well. That's the kind of thing that's got huge potential. That's the kind of thing that is really exciting, disruptive, interesting, different styles coming together. And I think in Dubai, we have to harness the entire nationality, all the communities here, to try and create music that does that. And that gives
Mike,
the best
sorry,
chance.
sorry.
And radio will take that. Media will love that, right? BBC, CNN.
True.
Manal's been on CNN 3 times. People want that overseas, you know? The
When,
media
when you heard that first time, the outlaw, that Khaliji
it's
hip hop,
amazing.
you were
It's amazing.
as someone from the UK, you were interested in that.
Yeah,
sound.
because you can tell. You can tell straight away.
Cool.
You know?
I have just one more question as well, just
Go ahead.
based on what Sarah was saying earlier, that you want kind of Dubai to be the LA of the region. If that's the case, wouldn't this location be the prime kind of location for something like Arabs Got Talent? Is there a reason why those shows are not in this kind of celebrity city? And I say that in the kind of inverted commas. It is this luxury lifestyle. Wouldn't you expect this place to be where that kind of type of show is based?
I don't know, honestly. I never thought of that. Thank you. But I mean, I already do see Dubai as kind of the LA of the region. It's a global hub. You've got people from so many different backgrounds here, so many different types of music, and there's crazy talent over here. So, but when it comes to these shows, I don't know honestly why they're not being done here. I can't really comment on that.
That's a totally different talk, but thank you so much, sir. Okay, go ahead.
Hello, yes. Thank you so much for this opportunity, everybody. Okay, so there is a disconnect I want to speak about. Nigerian, in case you haven't noticed from my accent. I make Afrobeats music, and I started making music in Dubai 2015, and it started a bit slow, but I can notice the changes now. For example, I have an Afrobeat song that's been played on the radio by Big Hass, and 2 days. Yes, and 2 days ago as well, it got played on Channel 4. So there is progress. I can't deny that. However, there is also an apparent disconnect. I'd like to question someone about. If the big man on top can answer me. In 2016, Flash Entertainment gave me an opportunity to be in front of 25,000 people, and I saw this huge, massive crowd come out from the UAE, which I always thought, people don't really love music that much out here. You have to make music in here for people outside. So what is the disconnect? How can we get, because obviously I was opening for bigger artists, for Big Sean and Travis Scott and them. So is it that the people in Dubai or in the UAE only love artists outside, or is there a disconnect in such a way where we could promote the artists locally for these crowds to come out and see them as well? That's one question. Secondly, last week I put out a track which was Afrobeats, and it had Arabic rap on it as well. And it's done 30,000 views. And it's not Beyonce numbers, but I think it's something. And that being said, could the A&Rs in companies like Sony do a bit of a better job in scouting artists? Because I feel like that's something they would have noticed. That's my question. Thank you.
I can answer the first question, and then I think Mike can answer the second one. No, you'll answer it. But for the first question, whether people here like artists from outside more, I think in the region that's been the case for a long time when it comes to westernized music, because people would just rather hear it from where it originates from. But I think now with new sounds coming up, new styles coming up, it is possible to change that perception. And I can tell you from my own experience, we had a show in Bahrain. So when we used to have shows in Bahrain before Flip and Daffy got really famous, we'd get some people coming down, but not a lot. We recently did a show, we sold out 3,000 seats in Bahrain, which is amazing because people were there just to see us. Not part of a festival, not part of, yeah. So yeah, it was our show. It was Flip, Daffy, Lil Easy, and we put in a lot of effort into this show because we got that love from the people. So when you as an artist feel that love from people, we didn't make a single cent out of the show. Everything we got paid, we put back into the show and more. So it is possible, and it's just up to you as an artist, I think, and it's also up to the people. That's just
Yeah. Okay, Mike, you want to comment on the second question?
Yeah, just on that. I mean, Flip, I saw them support Red Hot Chili Peppers down in Abu Dhabi like a month ago. They were amazing. And that's, I think, pointing to your point, which is a good question about, or a statement that is changing for sure. And I think it's about having those opportunities for regional artists, Dubai-based artists to perform. And it's beholden on venues and all sorts of places around Dubai to support that industry and to to get behind it, and we're part of that. Your second question is a really good one. I mean, obviously, the lifeblood of the business is about great artists and repertoire work, whether it be about helping artists actually produce and write records, or whether it be about just connecting people, and that's, you know, we're super focused on that.
Okay. We quickly, yeah.
Also, a big part of the disconnect that I feel that you're talking about is a lot of times people forget how many years certain artists have been doing music. And I think, I mean, apart from Abri, who we all call a legend here, it's actually really hard to pinpoint anyone that's been doing music full time for more than 5 years here. So it's also a case of development. You know, if you've been doing everything DIY for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, it really, obviously everyone's growth rate is different, right? But people are going to reach a point where they understand their art, they understand their brand, they understand what audience they need to connect with, going back to what Rami said. So I do feel that it's more a case of time, because eventually with persistence, that bridges the disconnect more than I have an amazing song that has the ingredients for, or the recipe for, you know, to blow up, but it hasn't. But it's more of a fact that it's more perseverance.
What is artist's responsibility, I think?
No, he was saying, is it the artist's responsibility?
Yeah.
I think it's 50-50. I think it's, if you've had an artist that's been here and they've been doing an absolutely great job for 25 years, for example, I'm pretty sure Mike would have known about them by now. So, and it also goes back to, yeah, for example, but no, I'm not saying, sorry, no. But yeah, but if someone's been doing something for a very long time, you're eventually going to make an impact where that disconnect's not there. But if you've been doing it for 24 months, it's also hard to expect the same outcome.
Yeah, thank you. But a quick flip, just to, maybe to Abri and Omar. When Abri, you opened for Sade, that, just to take a flip of what Joan said, did that opening act benefit your life, your career? Obviously, opening for one of the legends. You know, did that benefit? Did that push you? Did that do anything?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started out in 2005, we were doing a lot of free gigs, and one of some of those, and when we started getting traction, where people were getting to know who we are, we were doing these support acts where we would open for international acts, and they were amazing because not only do you get to see. I don't think artists realize how much of a privilege that is, because in other countries or around the world, for you to get a support act is very difficult. It's relatively easy to do that here. I've opened for Sting, Sade. I played with Herbie Hancock. You know what I mean? So I've had so many opportunities.
That's what I'm saying. Wow.
To be around to open for these artists and to meet them as well, and obviously to play for their audiences as well. So I think it's great. I think it's definitely a plus.
Omar, for you, like, does it actually help if you're opening up for somebody who's, because Jones's question is kind of interesting as well. He opened for, obviously, the Travis Scotts that. But do you think that is also one of the ways that we can use an artist opening up in order to push your music even more?
Of course. I think, big stages, big corporations, big events, they kind of bring light to these people that perhaps they hadn't heard of before. I've known people that were supporting acts one night, and that's it, their life changed forever. I had a girl that was opening, she opened for Maroon 5, and that night just changed her life, because it's just, no matter how much you're working behind the scenes and stuff, there's only so much that you could do to be, in front of an audience like that. So it definitely will change your life.
People, any more questions?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Hi, my name is
Art Kentro in the building, yeah.
Yes, Faris from Art Kentro. I just want to start by saying that personally, I think Dubai does have a sound. So my question is for you guys around that, to anyone on the panel, or hopefully everyone. Would you say the sound here is an English or an Arabic one?
Before we answer that question, yeah. I mean, tell us quickly about Art Kentro and what do you think is the sound? Because I'm really interested to let everybody know about Art Kentro, because I think what you guys are doing great.
Okay, so Art Kentro, we're a magazine, an online magazine. We cover the creative community, so art, music, photography, filmmaking, anything in the creative community. So we're a magazine, basically. When I say that I personally think there's a sound, that's kind of me saying that as a person rather than what Art Kentro sees.
What's the sound?
Well, I wanted to know what your answer is.
Nah, that doesn't work that way.
Okay. The reason I asked about the English-Arabic thing is because I think Dubai is a very distinct place. I think as a distinct sound where it's a mix of the two. I wouldn't define it as neither an English or an Arabic-speaking music scene. I grew up in the UK, I'm Egyptian, and I know the UK is very English, Egypt's very Arabic, no question about it. I think Dubai is a very unique place where when I hear, say, a rapper, someone spit in English and chucking a few Arabic words in the middle of the sentence, as we do as kind of English-speaking Arabs, whenever I hear that, that's immediately what teleports me back to Dubai and living in Dubai, because you don't hear that anywhere else. Probably in most Arab countries, maybe in places like Bahrain, I imagine it's similar. Hence why I wanted to know what your definition of the music scene is here, if you would define it as more of an English or Arabic, or like myself, it's kind of a fusion of the two.
Who wants to get that one? I know we're really not running out of time, but...
We didn't talk about, I mean, to be fair, we didn't talk about language, actually.
Yeah, no, because I don't, I mean, personally, I mean, okay.
Specifically, but I don't think it's either, right? I mean, it's not. It's
yeah, I mean, it's, I think we all agree it's a mix of both, but I think because we're running out of time, personally, personally, I don't think it will ever have a sound, but that's that debate we can take outside and talk more. But yeah, before we finish, yeah, go ahead.
I would say that in terms of Arabic or English music, I would say that Arabic music has had more time to flourish. So I would say that the Arabic music scene is operating at a certain level, whereas the English music scene is probably operating at a level that's slightly less developed or less, mainstream or commercial in that sense. So I don't think it's a case of either or. I just think one is following in the footsteps of how Arabic music has grown, especially what Alia was saying, of how, it's had the entire history of the country to grow because of the language, while I feel English is slowly following it. Yeah.
Okay. Can I just say on that point that the fact that we are unique in the sense where we have a mesh of the two, I think gives us a huge advantage when we present ourselves to the rest of the world.
Big up for that. I just want to finalize with one last note, and thank you everybody for coming. Just my 2 cents, and again, we're trying to make a difference here, and sometimes, believe it or not, I hate to say it, you need to be disruptive. You need to be a little bit against the current to make a difference. One of the things I'm really passionate about is I believe, for example, the people that are holding big positions in the UAE, for example, do not relate and care about, for example, the Arab kind of population. That being said as well, going back to what Alia said, when Hussein al-Jismi is performing, he has no problem booking people or having people in. So you cannot tell me that Dubai doesn't have a sound. It has that sound. We're talking about the alternative indie artists who are in this room, for example. It's hard to get people to come through for a show. So what's the sound? If you're impacting people, you're going to make a sound, and I think this is it. We're sadly running out of time, but I want you guys to give yourself a big round of applause, please. Make some noise. This has been really amazing, really amazing. And just before we leave, like Benouni talked about what Nomad are obviously doing, I want to talk about Rocks and Roll. And actually, I don't know if you guys can see it in the back, but Rocks and Roll will be the first official international techno event in Dubai. Rocks and Roll Dubai 2019 from November 7th to 9th is actually taking place right here at Dubai Outlet Mall, which is, I think, truly incredible and amazing. They have upcoming stuff. The next one will be a filming panel, and I think there will be a gaming panel. All will be details soon announced on social media. So really amazing. Thank you guys. Big round of applause for our panels. Please make some noise for Mohammed Benouni, Mike from Saudi, Sarah who flew from Bahrain just today. Give her a big round of applause. Representing our sisters here. Abri, give him a big round of applause. Omar Deen and the one and only Waleed Shah. And I'm your host, Big Haas. Thank you guys. Let's have a convo afterwards or a picture if we can. Thank you. Give yourself a big round of applause. Peace and love. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.